Good afternoon. Joining us now is former Brave Warriors coach Tom Saintfielt. He doesn't need any introduction in Namibian football. He coached the Brave Warriors between 2008 and 2010. He is currently the national team coach of Gambia. Tom, welcome to your home.
Yeah, it feels also that's coming home always when I arrive in Windhoek in the plane already. I told my wife it feels like in 2008 when I was for the first time on my way to Namibia, and it feels like home for us all.
Well, 13 years away now from your adopted home. Now tell us a little bit about your lodging or your coaching in Gambia. How is African football there? And how's the relationship between the players association and the coaches?
Yeah, first of all, I came in 2018, in July 2018 to Gambia. At that time, they were 172 in the world, not very well ranked, and their last competitive win was only in September 2013 against Tanzania, and there was 5 years without a competitive win, and people said, what are you going to do in Gambia, 5 years without a win, 172 in the world? But I checked and I saw a lot of talented young players in Europe. And when I arrived there, I found immediately a very cooperative federation. I have a federation where everyone is helping each other, a president who is very supportive. He's a former diplomat and a former minister of sport, a very intelligent guy, who give the responsibility to everyone for his own task, surrounded by a strong board, and I'm also surrounded by a very good staff in a country what loves football. Gambia is a small country. It's even in size smaller than Eswatini, former Swaziland, and Lesotho. Live about 2 million people, similar as Namibia, but it's also not a rich country. It's a quite poor country compared to Namibia. But people love football, and football is a way to make career, to earn money. So a lot of kids and a lot of people play football. There are a lot of football academies, and also even the last 20, 30 years, several Gambians made it abroad. Even in the beginning of 2000s and 90s, there were Gambians, and there's even Biri Biri. He was the first ever African player in the La Liga, and that goes back to the 70s. So Gambia is a football country where everyone wants to achieve something. They were in 60 years never qualified. They were 5 years without a win, as I said. But I found players with quality, players with motivation. It's an English-speaking country. It's a Muslim country. Players are very disciplined, and I have a very good staff, local staff. Later on, I added some foreign expertise to fill up some problems what we needed, like a video analyst and a physical coach. I have a fantastic team manager, and I have to say that since I left Namibia in 2010, I was always looking for a new Tim Isaacs, and I never found it till I came in Gambia, where I have Usman Drame, a top team manager. And for a national team coach, a team manager is much more important than a lot of other things, because a team manager takes sorrows away. He organizes the flights, he contacts the players, the hotels, training accommodation. And I traveled and I worked in many countries, and many times the problem was there was no team manager, or no team manager with the quality of Tim Isaacs or Usman Drame. And funny enough, both know each other also personally. So I'm surrounded by a very good staff. And from day one, we got the results. My first game was in Banjul, Bako Stadium, for 45,000 people. The capacity was only 25, but the people were sitting in the light posts, on the roof, or sitting everywhere. And we played 1-1 against Algeria with the likes of Mahrez, Feghouli. And from that time, the belief came from, hey, we can do something. And I think my biggest achievement is changing the mindset from a country what didn't believe to achieve something to a country what can achieve something. But all the credits go to the whole federation who support me and the rest of the people, because it's really teamwork, and the achievement that we qualified and that we got so many wins the last years, it's the achievement of the whole team.
Normally, a lot of coaches don't really last that long with African nations. FAs are very impatient. When you give them a mandate to achieve a certain goal, because I've been looking at your stay there for 5 years, you have done wonders there, you've even qualified for the AFCON. Were you given any mandate?
My first contract was for 9 months with them. I was fired in Malta because they said I had applied for the Cameroon job. It was incorrect. My name dropped up in the media as candidate for Cameroon, and they fired me. It was a good sign because I could go to Gambia, but I signed
It was a blessing in disguise.
It was a blessing, really. Malta is a beautiful country. I love Malta, but after going to Gambia, a lot of things changed in my career in a positive way. And I had a 9-month deal. When I arrived to them there, I said to the president and vice president, I remember still that talk, I said, I'm here to qualify you for AFCON. And they looked at me and they said, Coach, but let's first win a match, because we didn't win for 5 years, a competitive match. And but from the first, we drew with Algeria, we drew with Togo, we beat Benin at home, and we drew in Algeria. And from that moment in that qualification group, they said, okay, this coach has changed a lot, and I felt really good in working with my players, with my staff and my federation. So we agreed a 2-year deal. In that deal was not really said we need to qualify, but I as a coach, people who know me, I always am by myself ambitious, and I'm not scared. I'm not that coach. Yes, I want to qualify. I want to be the best. I want to win, and I want that from my staff, from my players. And sometimes it's a lot demanding, and some federations, some people have problems with that because this coach demand things, but I really want to achieve things. I'm coached to achieve things, and we had a 2-year extension of the contract, and in these 2 years we qualified. And after that, I got several offers. I got offers for 3, 4, 5 times more salary than I had in Gambia, but I said no. My job is not finished. That was even before AFCON.
So you still have unfinished business.
Yeah. And we went to AFCON. We won our first game, Mauritania. We drew Mali. We won against Tunisia. Second round, we beat Guinea-Conakry, and then in the quarterfinal, we lost only from Cameroon, the host. But I felt after that there were contacts with some big federations. I got offers from Wydad Casablanca, from clubs top clubs in Algeria, from in Egypt, the top clubs, and money-wise, much better than I have now. But I feel home, and I learned out of the mistakes in the last 10, 15 years as a coach, where I sometimes left for greener pastures, but it was not always the right choice. And I feel good with my team, with my players, and I have still the feeling that we didn't reach the maximum out of this squad. So we extended for 5 years in 2021 to 2026 with the AIM World Cup 2026. And we will see, but it's a long time, like you said, from July 2018, now already more than 5 years coaching the Gambia, but I still feel comfortable with them. I'm still very happy with the board, with my players, with my staff, and I still believe that we can achieve something, and we will see how the future goes.
Well, coming back, obviously your name will always pop up in Namibia, and if you look at the population of Gambia, it's more or less the same as Namibia. So what is the difference between the setup there and the Namibian setup?
Yeah, first of all, I think that it has also to do with the standard of living. I think Namibia is probably the most beautiful and the best organized country in Africa. Not football looking, but the whole country. It's so beautiful here, and it's so high standard. Everything, people have all chances to achieve something in life. You don't have to be a professional football player to become a millionaire in Namibia. There are many countries in Africa where the only way to get out of poverty is football. And Gambia is not so rich as Namibia, but Gambia is a West African country. I think West Africa has sometimes a higher reputation in football. In Southern Africa, I think we always struggle. We look to South Africa, Botswana, Mozambique, Angola. Sometimes Zambia had a great period, but if you look to West Africa, there are almost no poor countries. So even Sierra Leone, Guinea-Bissau, the smaller countries, if you don't talk about the giants of Nigeria, Ghana, Ivory Coast, there's so much quality. So also in Gambia, there's a lot of quality. There is no other sport in Gambia than football. Everyone plays football on the beach, in the street. They had some examples over the last 20, 30 years of players who went abroad. And the clubs are decent organized. I have to say that there are clubs who really invest in infrastructure. One example is Real de Banjul, who have a real whole training accommodation infrastructure. Their owner, Willie Abraham, is a very ambitious guy. He's originally originally from Lebanese roots, but born in the Gambia. He sold more than 50 players to Europe. He's a businessman. He develops young players. He sells them to Europe. Also other clubs like Hawks, Fortune, and other clubs who really develop players. And now it's even so that clubs from abroad and people from abroad start football academies. There is Martens, a former head coach of Anderlecht, who discovered a lot of talent like Yao Preco and many years ago. He has an academy there with artificial grass pitch, natural grass pitch, with a school. Now we get a cooperation with Bayern Munich. So the people see there is talent, there is a physical structure of players compared to Namibia. Probably the clubs are not really investing in Namibia. They don't want to compete in international football. What you have in Gambia, most of the teams get kicked out in the first round, but still there's a team who played 4-4 against Raja Casablanca, got kicked out. Another team played 0-0 against Constantine, got kicked out. But at least there's competition. And players on the age of 17, 18 already spotted by international scouts. We had a few examples like Musa Barrow and Ibrahima Colley, who went on the age of 15, 16 already to Atalanta Bergamo. Before Chievo Verona had already discovered Youssef Bob, Ali, so and they don't make it all, but they get spotted very early and they get a chance to go abroad. Some go to Senegal, where Generation Food has an academy who works together with MES. So we are in an area where football is passion, football is love, where football is an occasion to get out of poverty, to make something for your career, to help your family and to build in the country, and where there's a lot of talent. And if you walk around in Gambia, a lot of kids can play football. There's a lot of quality, and I have to say that the federation, you see that also our under-20 reached the World Cup and even performed well, got to the second round. Our under-20 already 2 times in a row won the WAFU Cup, that's a little bit called Safa Cup from that region. So there is really a good structure and a lot of people who want to work on it. And looking to Namibia, sometimes I think that for Namibian players, the target is, the life is too easy. If you play here, Black Africa, Orlando Pirates, sometimes you do another job near it, you earn good money. It's a beautiful country, it's a safe country, you have good medical care, it's fantastic to be in Namibia. So the target to go then to Europe for maybe less money than you earn here, or only a little bit more money, to battle there in the cold weather and not knowing that you achieve something, it's not always every player who wants that. I think Colin Benjamin was one of these examples of players who did it. He went on the age of 20, 21 to a 6th division team in Germany. A year later he was in the 4th division, and then a year later he played for Hamburg, and he's an example how you can do it, but not many players have the guts to do that. And in Gambia, Gambia has also a lot of refugees, people who go by boat to Europe to find a better future, and if you can do it via football, I have even 3 refugees in my national team, Moussa Jouara, who was in Bologna but who now play in Wali in Denmark, Khalifa Mane, who was in Perugia, and Ibrahima Darbu, who is AS Roma player now on loan in Linz. They went all by boat via Libya to Italy to make the career. So people want to battle to get a better life, and that brings also success to football, because these are players who really are motivated to achieve something.
Interesting. From what I understand, the majority of the bulk of the players, or all the players in your national team, play abroad. How's the standard of the league in Gambia in comparison with Namibia?
I think you can compare both a little bit. The only difference is that I think they are similar. The only difference is that if a player in Gambia is 18 or 19 and he has talent, he's already spotted abroad. Some players make the step to Senegal, what is just a few 100 kilometers away, and where you can earn 3, 4, 5 times more than in Gambia. Some go to Morocco, and if they have the opportunity to go to Europe, they go to Europe. But the league is I think, quite similar in the local league, only that in Gambia more younger talent is playing. It's more a development league for players to show their ability to make the step. And in Namibia, it's more players who are already 30 can still play in the local league and play in the national team. People are settled more. So the the quality is similar, only the players who play in the league are different.
In terms of organization and administration, many African FAs have this tendency of interfering in affairs. Did you experience any interference during your time in Namibia?
In Namibia? Never, never. I think I came in 2008 to Namibia, and I have to thank God for that opportunity, because I was 35 years old. I started my coaching career in Belgium on the age of 24. I had worked in Europe in several countries. I worked in Qatar, but I had always the dream to become national team coach in Africa. And I had tried several times, but never got the opportunity till that moment I called John Mourinho. And I will never forget that. And he gave me that opportunity together with Barry Ricoro, and they let me work like a professional, work with the players, work with a very good staff, with Brian Isaacs, Ronnie Canalello, with Tim Isaacs, surrounded with fantastic people. And they never in my life interfered in who I had to select, how I had to play. My frustration on the end I was here was a little bit that we had no funds to play friendlies, no camps. I remember at that time that we played South Africa in the beginning of March to open the Durban Stadium before the World Cup. We played 0-0. After that, we played in Keetmanshoop against Botswana, again a 0-0. And then the league stopped end April, and there was no money in June, no funds for a camp in August, and we had to go to Gambia in September 2010. And I felt this is going wrong, because the players were out of league for 5-6 months. There was no budget to have a training camp. I remember that I bought big bottles of water in Commersdal, and that I went with players who wanted to come, because it was not an official camp, to train there. I remember that I went running with Michael Pienaar, Quinton Jacobs, and other guys in Olympia at the stadium, at the track, by myself to train. And that was at that time a little bit my frustration and the motivation to leave, also because this was my first experience, and I thought somewhere else it will be maybe better. I experienced naturally the opposite of that, and that are mistakes I made as a young coach. But I will always be very thankful to John Mourinho and Barry Ricoro, and I have to say that they were one of the best leadership I ever experienced not only in Africa, also in international football.
Overall, if you look at the standard of football, let's say abroad, overseas, in all of top leagues, African players are making serious inroads in the top flight football. But when it comes to the big stage, let's say the World Cup, African countries always struggle. I mean, with the exception of Morocco, who did fairly well in the last World Cup, where they reached the semi-finals. What do you say? What is the problem of African nations?
I think there are two. There are two. Sometimes it's the organization, the planning. Federations who start too late to plan the trip. If Germany qualifies, they're already 2 years before the World Cup walking around in Brazil or Russia to find training accommodation and hotels. An African team waits sometimes a little bit too long to find the best infrastructure. And I experienced that also during the last AFCON, that hotels and travel distance have a huge influence on the performance of players. If the players have a lot of time to rest, to recover after games, good infrastructure, not only to sleep and eat, but also to relax, because football pitch, that's 2 hours, but you are 22 hours in a hotel room. So these things are important. And the most important is, and that I say already for many years, and that was also the target when I was close to sign with Nigeria many years ago, is the way of playing football. Morocco played exactly like I always played. I know that a lot of people sometimes say Tom is too defensive coach, and that's true. I focus on the organization, but I believe that when you are a team what is a little bit lower ranked, less quality than the opponent, you can only achieve something. And remember our game against South Africa, where we were leading till the 71 minute, 0-1 with a goal of Rudolf Bester, but we also drew in Angola 0-0. We beat Congo here 4-0, and we beat Zimbabwe 4-2 with organized defense football. And I believe that that's the way an African team can become world champion. I really believe that the likes of Nigeria, Cameroon, Ghana, Ivory Coast have the potential to become world champion if they have a right coach who know how to work with African players, because sometimes you notice that African FAs appoint before a big tournament a European coach, a big name coach, Sven-Goran Eriksson, Xavier Clemente, I don't know which all. but they have no feeling with African football. They don't understand the players. They are big name coaches. They are not motivated. They come only to cash money and they go away. You need a coach who understands African football, who loves African football, but also a coach who understands international tactics to achieve something. And Morocco did that with Walid Regraoui. They played not always the most beautiful football, but they played smart football and they reached the semi-final. And I think all Africa was proud. And no one was talking about the way they played, but everyone was proud about the performance, and they made all Africa and all the Arab world proud. And I really believe that more African teams can achieve something on World Cups, because like you said, the majority of the top players in every European country are African players. So that shows there is so much potential to achieve something on world stage.
You made a very valid statement about preparations, especially when it comes to African teams. When they, ahead of these major tournaments, there's no proper preparations. It's probably that's the case why they're not doing well. But what would you say, what should actually be done? But FIFA has now increased the number of teams for the next World Cup, African teams. But do you really see any African team probably winning the World Cup within the next 10 years or 20 years?
To be honest, I believe it's possible. I really believe it's possible. I even believe that in the last World Cup, if a country like Senegal had approached a little bit different, even Ghana, I think Ghana has a lot of young talent, and Ghana after 2010 was a little bit in going down, but the new talent of Ghana is really fantastic. And Nigeria, they were not there on the World Cup, but has so much quality. Plus Cameroon, I really believe these countries, and maybe I forget one country, I'm a big fan of Mali. Mali has so much potential also. I really believe that these countries, these really major top countries, when they approach it on the right way with the right preparation training camps, the right friendly games. And friendly games is not always friendly games to win. I learned a lot from Guus Hiddink. I met his former assistant coach Pim Verbeek. He was later coach of Australia, and he told me they chose friendlies where they were losing games to make clear from, hey, the World Cup going to be tough. We have to play different football, because Nigeria, Cameroon, in theory, 90% of the games they can play with their fingers in the nose and they win them. But when you play World Cup, every game going to be tough. And if these teams will prepare the World Cup on the right way with the right friendlies, the right tactical preparation, good hotels, infrastructure, good surrounding staff, because also medical staff, everything around it, food has influence on it, then I really believe that they are they are not worse than Argentina, Brazil, France, England, Italy. I really believe that an African country can beat them.
Fantastic. Before I let you go, football dynamics are changing now. With the influx of players now all storming to the Saudi Arabian League, and some people, there's some murmurs that it's not for football reasons, it's about money. What is your take on that?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. Look, we always judge about people taking a decision for money, and that's human. But let me go back to beginning 1990s. British football, English football was not special till they founded the Premier League. And why did all the big stars come to England? For
money.
For the money. They came all to the Bergkamps, the Zolas. Everyone wanted the Ginolas. Everyone wanted to play in England for the money. And I always say, if at that moment the money would have been invested in Luxembourg, everyone would be a fan of a Luxembourg team. Now everyone is a fan of Manchester City, Liverpool, Manchester United, Aston Villa, I don't know. But it's only because of money. Manchester City has only the best team because of money. Because 10, 15 years ago, they were playing
something like 5, 6, 7 times.
Exactly. So players, coaches, majority choose for money. And Saudi Arabia want to copy a little bit what Qatar did in the beginning of 2000s when they were promoting their football, trying to get Guardiola, Batistuta, Effenberg, Basler, Caniggia, they all played in Qatar to promote and then later get the World Cup. Saudi Arabia would like to have the World Cup in 2030, maybe 2034, and they want to focus on football. Saudi Arabia is already a strong league. It's one of the best leagues before this happening in Asian football. Clubs like Al-Shabaab, Al-Ahli, Al-Ittihad, they won already the Champions League in Asia. Now they invest a lot and get the big names. I'm not a big fan of that. I prefer I prefer to see Italian football or German football or anything, but I'm not there to judge. I mean, if a player or a coach gets such an offer where he can secure his future and his family, then I think it's very normal to accept, and we have to accept, and we have to watch more Saudi Arabian football to see players. I have two players of my team, Hassan Cisse and Mohamed Badamossi, who signed last week also in the top league of Saudi Arabia with some smaller clubs, and I have to follow them there. They played in Italy, the one played in Italy, one played in Serbia, and they go there, and it's fantastic for these guys, because on the end it's also their job and they have to secure their future. And let's see how long it takes in Saudi Arabia, but congrats to everyone who can benefit of it, and we will see. The level will be still good if the best players play together. Infrastructure will be perfect, training grounds, stadiums will be perfect, the games will be crowded, will be packed, so I don't think it will be a weaker level than other European leagues. It's only our mindset what has to change, and it's not England, it's not France or Germany, it's now Saudi Arabia we have to look at.
Would you consider going to Saudi Arabia if an offer came?
I could now say no, but probably if the money is that crazy, I think everyone will accept that. But for me, money is not always. Like I said, I got very good offers. I learned in the past that sometimes I left too early somewhere, and I think Namibia is one example where I love Namibia. My family loves Namibia, and I left here too early at that time. And now I'm a changed coach, and that's the reason I like the stability what I got in Gambia, but I would lie if tomorrow a few millions are on the table. I think every person would every journalist, every coach, every player would consider to make that move. But at the moment, that's not the topic. I'm fully focused on my Gambian task, and I hope that we write more history.
Well, with that, we've come to the end of another edition on Spot On. Tom, thanks for joining us and for that insightful interview.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Welcome.